Okay, so I want to get into this right up front. This video is basically about new mathematical equations used by the Social Security Administration when it comes to something that is extremely important. Now, it's not important in the sense of year to year, it's important in the sense of 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years. So I want to get right into it. This video is about the SSA messing with the math of your cost of living adjustment, your COLA. And what happened was this. Well, actually, first, please remember, if you like these video updates, learning about Social Security, getting an update on things that just aren't always out there, please like and subscribe. Also, a big thank you to Leanne, who did a $20 donation. That's absolutely amazing. I see you're not feeling well, so catch up with me tomorrow. I hope you're doing okay. She's been with us actually the longest out of every single person that's watched this channel. Back in the days where we lived in caves, where I had like 100 subscribers, she goes way, way back to the origins. I want to go through something real quick with you. Also, Diana did an awesome $2 donation, which is absolutely amazing. There was a document produced over here and was from the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics, okay? And what they published, and nobody really caught for a while, was essentially a notice of CPI collection reductions. And what this says is, I'm just going to read it to you so you know exactly what's on the sheet. BLS is Bureau of Labor Statistics is reducing sample collection in areas across the country. In April, BLS suspended CPI data collection entirely in Lincoln, Nebraska, and Provo, Utah. In June, BLS suspended collection entirely in Buffalo, New York. Collection reduction and suspension affect both the Commodity and Service Survey and the Housing Survey. These actions have minimal impact on the overall item CPI-U and CPI-W indexes. The actions may increase the volatility of sub-national or item-specific indexes. The number of imputed items increased in April due to these actions. BLS makes reductions when current resources can no longer support the collection effort. BLS will continue to evaluate survey operations. We have amended this notice to reflect an error found in the CPI response rate for April. Please see the error page for further details. All right, so bottom line is this. They, at the Bureau of Labor Statistics, don't have enough personnel to do the full comprehensive sweep throughout the nation as to what the cost of living adjustment actually is. And as a result, they're now sampling fewer and fewer areas. Now, this could potentially be to your benefit. It could push cost of living adjustment slightly up. However, I don't think it's going to help. And the reason why is with these types of areas, Lincoln, Provo, Buffalo, New York, I feel like those areas are going to show higher percent increases in items. And if you wipe those off, it's like getting rid of, in your averaging calculation, those places that would give you a higher cost of living adjustment. So as a tactic, the Social Security Administration sucks the Bureau of Labor Statistics data into their benefit increases. So you catch what I'm drifting here. If BLS, the Bureau of Labor Statistics, samples fewer areas for cost of living adjustment, right, and how they look at their CPI-E, CPI-W, then what happens is if they are canceling locations that they collect data from, and those data locations tend to be where you would see the greatest increases in essentially the cost of goods, which are like big places. I mean? Like Buffalo, New York, that's a big place. That's a high increase rate. Like if you look at like New York, New Jersey, California, those places have unnatural, unmistakable, obnoxious increases in cost of items. You know what I mean? Like a soup can in California is way more expensive than a soup can in like Louisiana. So the point that I'm getting at with this is that you've got to understand that they are using this new tactic to significantly likely reduce the amount of places that they sample. And if those places are high cost areas, then it's going to create an averaging algorithm with a lower percent increase for your next yearly increase. Now, why is this important? We are teetering on Social Security benefits no longer being relevant. Now, I used to think the number one problem for Social Security benefits was the fertility rate. And it's a good champion for that. It's a really good champion for that because the fertility rate defines how many new kids are born. And then in 18 years, how many of those kids then can go get a job, pay taxes, etc. Although, to be fair, we have a lot of kids being born that they're just not getting jobs, they're not making money, they're not paying FICA taxes. And we have a parenting problem in America. I'm not going to go into that because people will get upset with me, but we have a parents don't push their kids, kids don't achieve, kids don't get higher paying jobs, they don't go as far in academia, or they don't become general contractors telling people what, when, where, who, what. And so as a result, they don't pay as much taxes, they don't pay as much taxes, they don't pay as much FICA taxes, they don't pay as much FICA taxes. You guess what happened? Bad day. So my point with this whole thing, just so that you're aware, is that this is not a good sign. It means that the Bureau of Labor Statistics does not have enough employees to structurally give you a proper cost of living adjustment. Now, that's the little problem, although it seems huge. That is the little problem. The bigger problem is what I believe is the number one issue with Social Security at this point, is the perception of people appreciating the program, because people don't appreciate supplemental security income because it's such a low amount. And you get the $2,000 limitation. People don't appreciate SSDI benefits because they work their entire life and they're getting like, $15 to $2,000 per month when they become disabled. So they're not, or less, or $1,000. So, and then retirement benefits, the average is like $2,000. You know what I mean? Imagine your entire life you pay into a program and it gives you $2,000 per month. Like obviously you'd be pissed. Obviously, many of you are pissed. So it is the understanding of the American mind that is going to end the current program we have with Social Security benefits, where the young people, people under 45, they'll all vote to get rid of it and do something else. It's really when the votes become enough, the 45 and up people, to vote to hybridize the Social Security system and have a private, fund that we invest into along with the trust fund, that, the traditional government trust fund. And you guys know how that works. And the trust fund, we put FICA taxes away, and they go in different places, but the extra that we have gets put into usually what are called special interest treasury bonds. And the government gets to use that money to invest in what it wants. And then the government has to pay that money back, your money, after 15 years, which they usually do using what is called the printing of money, or basically the borrowing of more money, usually against the American people. So you actually get a massive devaluing of the dollar that you hold on to, because they borrow money, can't afford to pay it back, can't afford to pay the interest back. So they got to borrow all that money and print all that money just to make that bond be paid back on time, which is why Moody's reduced the actual rating of the United States of America, which I never thought I'd see in my lifetime, because who thought America would fail as an investment, Now, with that said, I want to go through basically some of the details here so you understand what's going on. Kiplinger did an article on this. They just released it. I want to read it to you because I think it's important. It'll help you understand essentially mathematically how this will change your Social Security benefits going forward. All right, Kiplinger. And again, please remember to please remember to subscribe. Also, very important, I don't do Medicare questions. I don't do Medicare stuff. So bottom line is, if you have Medicare questions or you need a tune-up on your Medicare, program that you're on, give them a call right here, 339-226-6287. I partnered with them, and I don't do Medicare. So, if you're wondering about that 14.6 billion fraud that's going on in the healthcare industry, whether or not your Medicare will be affected by it, just give them a call. They're following that stuff very closely. Okay. I focus obviously on Social Security, disability I'm the most viewed, subscribed to, and clicked on disability attorney in America. Now, over here, Kiplinger, the BLS has changed how it measures the inflationary data that determines whether Social Security benefits will get a cost of living adjustment. The question is, will it hurt your benefits? I think it will, because those are high-priced areas, and they're removing them, which means the average overall will change for how much money you get. So instead of you getting perhaps like a 3.5% increase, you might get like a 2.9 or a 3.3 or whatever percent increase. Although a lot of people are saying it'll probably be around 2.5, but this is something that could reduce it to 2.4, 2.3, where you don't get as much per year, which is not good. This is a major problem. Over 57 million retirees rely on Social Security benefits, which typically get a cost of living adjustment raise each year. In October, of course, they tell you what the math is going to be, and then in January 1st, they actually do the increase. But remember, that's not just retirement. That's retirement, disability, disabled adult child, SSI, widow's benefits, ex-spousal benefits, all that stuff go by the cost of living adjustment. This raise is based on inflation data collected by the Bureau of Labor Statistics, but a recent decision by the BLS to reduce its data sample collection has raised some concerns. Concern number one, how the hell does the government not have enough money to do the analytics it needs to do to decide how much money you're going to get each year as an increase? It does seem like, I'm not trying to throw any knives at Trump, I'm not trying to do that here because he probably, frankly, isn't aware of it. Maybe he is. Who knows? He could be. You never know. What I'm trying to say here is they've literally cut the Bureau of Labor Statistics down to the point where they can no longer sample the data to define how much of an increase government employees and Social Security recipients are going to get. They're reducing the likelihood that you'll get a proper increase. Experts are worried that this could lead to less accurate inflation numbers, potentially resulting in a smaller COLA for Social Security beneficiaries and leaving them with less buying power. And that's the main fear here. If you're not getting your 2.5% increase, you might be getting a 2.3% increase. And remember, the bigger the number of the increase, like if you're getting like a 10% increase or an 8% increase or whatever, the bigger the number of the increase, the more traditionally you are getting screwed over because there was significantly more inflation. And as you've known, and I'm not going to get into it because you live it. You live it. When you get paid a 5%, an 8%, a 10% increase in cost of living adjustment, it's more like a 20, 30, 40% increase in actual cost to be able to survive the next year. I'm not going to go into it because I know you live it, so we'll just keep rock and rolling. Also, James Bryan, thank you for basically gifting, excellent, a membership to Life is Too Short. That's absolutely amazing. There's Life is Too Short, and James Bryan. So Life is Too Short has been with us for a very long time, so it's absolutely amazing. Thank you, good sir, for doing that. That's awesome. So with that said, just going through this, the BLS stopped collecting data from 3 cities in the second quarter: Lincoln, Nebraska, Provo, Utah, and Buffalo, New York, due to a staffing shortage that has resulted partly because of the current hiring freeze. So when you think about it, it is, okay, so I have noticed that the government tends to, when it wants to get what it wants, create manufactured crises, manufactured problems. Something was leaking. We had to shut down the factory. The computer system was hacked the day before. Our electrical grid went down in the overall area and our generator wouldn't work and blah, 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 blah. There's usually this manufactured problem that seems to create the results that they actually want. Quote, economists say the staffing shortage raises questions about the quality of recent and coming inflation reports. There's no sign of an intentional effort to publish false or misleading statistics, but any problems with the data could have a major implication for the economy. Not so much the economy, for what you get to buy things in the economy. You'll go to buy something, it will be more expensive. You won't have as much money to buy it. It will not be good. Okay. The formula to determine the COLA is straightforward. The Social Security Administration compares the average consumer price index for urban wage earners and clerical workers, CPI-W, for the third quarter of the current year, which includes July, August, and September, and compares it with the average CPI-W for the average of the previous year. They let you know what they're going to give you in October. They actually pay you in January. The percentage increase is rounded to the nearest 10th of a percentage and applied to benefits. If there is no percentage increase, then no COLA is paid out, meaning the COLA can never be a negative number. As such, benefit levels are never cut even when there's a drop year over year in the price index. And we saw 2 of those during the Obama era. You'll notice there was 2 years back to back where they didn't increase the benefits, which was a physical impossibility. If you look at the math, they fudged the numbers a bit there. It's not good. Economists have been talking about it. I haven't done a video on it because people really love Obama and it is what it is. But at the same time, like, it's just one of those things. If you go back and look at the cost of living adjustments per year, Obama had 2 years without growth. Give me a break. Come on now. In April, the BLS stopped collecting data on 2 cities, Lincoln, Nebraska, and Provo, Utah. In June, the BLS suspended collection on Buffalo, New York. The BLS has acknowledged in a press release that the loss of the data from these cities may increase the volatility of subnational or item-specific indexes, but will have minimal impact on the overall items of CPI-U and CPI-W indexes. I guess my question is, I don't agree, because if you do the calculation, you remove those three cities, sure, it might be small the first year, but let's say you have a reduction in 0.01. And then every year thereafter, you have a reduction in 0.01. So after 10 years, you've got an entire point reduction that's 0.1 being pulled. And that's a big deal. That's a big deal for people who are struggling to be able to survive and eat. And this is specifically the Consumer Price Index, U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics warning that they sent out, which is quite scary. I mean, it's basically they're saying they don't have enough people to staff their economy team to figure out what you all should get in the future, which is not good. The cutback in data collection is rooted in a staffing shortage fueled in part by a hiring freeze. Quote the Bureau of Labor Statistics, the office that publishes the inflation rate, told outside economists this week that a hiring freeze at the agency was forcing the survey to cut back on the number of businesses where it checks prices, according to the Wall Street Journal. This hiring freeze is compounding a budget problem that has been ongoing for the agency. The Urban Institute found that between fiscal year 2001 and 2015, the agency received less money than requested in all but 2 years. And let's just be honest, they're trying to shrink the government. The area you don't want it to shrink is how your benefits are calculated for how much you're going to get in the next year, which is what they're doing right now. A distortion of the CPI-W data could result in either a higher or lower COLA, although we think it's going to be higher because those are higher cost places. A higher COLA wouldn't negatively impact beneficiaries, but a lower COLA would. And this is likely to create a lower COLA. Okay. Now, with that said, the negative effect would reverberate. It's a good word use. It's like Fender guitar word. Beyond the year it takes effect. It would snowball over the years at that lower monthly benefit amount. And it's the figure that the next COLA would be applied to, and so on from there. Last year's COLA was a modest 2.5%, although that's, to be honest with you, not modest. That's on the high end. We just had a shriekingly horrific economy through Biden, and I understand the COLA argument. I understand the corporations were able to take advantage of him and blah, 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 although they don't seem to make that same argument with Trump, but I'm not getting into that. A modest 2.5%, that's actually on the high end. And just to prove that, and I don't want to hold on to this thing, and I know some people are like, some of you get it, some of you don't, but if we go look at COLA amount per year, okay, so when you say a modest increase of 2.5%, just to give you an understanding, you're saying it's not a big one, it's not even a medium, it may be a medium, it's not a medium large, it's maybe a medium low, like a medium low. That's not really fair. Let me explain to you what the past 20 years of cost of living adjustment actually were, okay? So let's say 2010 was, I guess it was starting 2015. 0, 2016, 0.3, 2017, 2.0, 2018, 2.8, 2019, 1.6, 2020, 1.3. And then we get to Biden, 5.9, 8.7, 3.2, 2.5. And if you go farther back, if you go back to 2000, right, you're looking at 3.5, 2.6, 1.4, 2.1, 2.7, 4.1, 3.3, 2.3, 5.8, 0, 0, 3.6, 1.7, 1.5, 1.7. To me, that's not fair. And they use words like that to manipulate brains, which I don't like. I don't like that at all. But remember, mathematically, we did a video on this. Biden's cost of living increase was equivalent to going 13 years back with the total of 3 other presidents. So his one presidency was equivalent to the absolute ridiculous inflation of 3 presidents before him going 13 years back. Pretty shameful stuff, especially when you think about how he was promoting the idea that he was going to be like this savior to the disabled, savior to essentially the retired, create programs where the children of the retired would be able to take care of them and get paid by the federal government. Well, great idea. They never really pushed it. So anyways, the COLA is determined by taking the average of the CPI-W for the 3 months of the third quarter. You guys already know that. The bottom line with this whole thing is that, unfortunately, we are seeing, it looks like, permanent manipulation with the amount of benefits that you will get each year. Okay. So I would just want to go ahead and point out to you something very important. Okay. The CPI-W is not what we should be using. We should be using the CPI-E. That follows elderly people and how they spend their money, and it will usually give you a greater increase. That's problem number one. Problem number two is that they manipulate the math when it comes to cost of living adjustment because they keep moving you down categories of goods that they calculate based off of. Originally, they would calculate your meat category off of high-end steak, then lower steaks, then lesser and lesser and lesser. And now we're all the way down to ground beef and Spam and all the way down to leftover, whatever they can find. So they've manipulated the math of the product category that they look at to give you the percentage increase because, as they put it, the numbers could not keep up with the percentage increase for those higher shelf, higher priced items. So as a result, they would keep moving the category away from things that would greatly increase, like steak, to things that wouldn't greatly increase, like Spam, like ground burger, etc. All right, I'm going to do a video on that. I think it's important for you to understand how the manipulation is occurring. With that said, I'm going to be doing the next video. The next video is pretty cool stuff. I'm kind of excited about it. Basically, it talks about what the wait times are. There's a little bit of a scandal going on inside the government when it comes to wait times, because as you remember, when we had the prior commissioner, which was Commissioner Martin O'Malley, the last one we had for a while, and then we had like another one, a lot of them. He was very open and very promoting and pushing the idea of here's where we're at with 800 numbers, here's where we're at with wait times, here's where we're at with this and this. Not so much with this administration. I'm going to go through it. You deserve to know the truth, and I'm going to walk you through what the actual numbers are because they have an Excel sheet that they released, but it's hiding something, and I'm going to show it to you. Attorney Walter Hnot, Disability Resolution PA. Please remember to like and subscribe. Head over to Google and type in Disability Resolution. That's the law firm I work for during the 9 to 5, although it seems more like 9 to 10 every day. I will catch you at the next video shortly. Please remember on Monday and Thursday, I go live to answer questions for free. Tonight I will. And also, if you need a full 1 hour block for a 1 hour consultation, there is below a mini contract where you can fill that out, and we put you on the hearing calendar for your 1 hour. I'll catch you a little bit later at the next video, and we will rock and roll from there. Thank you so much. Bye-bye, everybody. Bye-bye.